Hello and welcome to our learning modules developed by the University of Applied Sciences in Western Switzerland. We are in module 1.3, where we will discuss how to set up and develop a living lab and define a common vision. We will have a closer look at how your living lab can create value for its stakeholders, what you need to think about, and what are the main challenges. Value creation. Let's continue to have a deeper look at value creation and its components. Living labs create value for different groups of stakeholders. These could be the end users of projects and services proposed by a living lab, as well as private companies, public administration, or other living labs. The value creation and driving motivation could be represented by 6 dimensions, which are political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal. A Pestel model can be used to help identify these dimensions. The importance of these dimensions could vary depending according to the specific projects. For example, for the TUICICAP project on the creation of integrated climate and energy plans, the priorities are for the environmental, technological, and political values. And for the Lantern project, the social and economic values are also important to consider. Political value creation concerns mainly the new policies and laws. It represents a sort of political mobilization to achieve greater public engagement and faster changes, for example, in the field of energy and climate transition. The economic value represents the classical view on value creation, but it focuses more on the business models of private organizations and cooperation partners. It could be described by getting the monetary benefits or process optimization to lower costs, as well as creating new jobs and contracts. Social value creation can be defined by learning, awareness raising, and empowerment of stakeholders with the help of active engagement, participatory activities, and other methods of increasing social cohesion and innovation. The next type of value creation represents the value created with the help of technologies. Particularly in the energy sphere, it's also defined by how users and organizations lower their carbon footprint, how the energy is produced and distributed, as well as the level of stakeholder engagement. Environmental value creation is more concerned with sustainability issues, lowering the carbon footprint and the use of greener technologies or energy sources and other environmental benefits. Legal value covers legal frameworks, operations and skills, as well as questions of open licenses and open access to projects and services. What added value will your living lab bring to its stakeholders? For example, bringing different stakeholders together in a community of practice, or creating projects in a collaborative way, proposing innovations to improve existing processes, or perhaps allowing experimentation and co-design with different actors. An innovation intermediary is defined by Chesborough as a person or organization that speeds up the quest for possible solutions to a customer's problems by drawing on broader sources of ideas and by helping inventors find firms interested in their inventions. Living labs can be described as innovation intermediaries, providing an important role in value creation. There are different types of innovation intermediaries. Innovation consultants provide innovation services, relying on internal sources of knowledge to solve specific innovation problems or quests. Innovation traders screen and provide access to a large amount of external ideas and innovations, relying on a platform of innovation solvers to facilitate the identification of potential scientific and business-orientated solutions. Innovation incubators provide infrastructures to facilitate the internal exchange of ideas and knowledge among firms searching to conduct science, technology, and business activities. Innovation mediators provide infrastructures to facilitate the use of external ideas and knowledge coming from users, entrepreneurs, R&D institutes to established firms searching to find science, technology, and business opportunities. If the innovation intermediaries correspond to the specific criteria of the European Network of Living Labs, ENOL, they could ask to be certified by ENOL. The innovation intermediaries can also be described depending on the type of value or benefit, broadly social or economic, and their focus, organizational or individual. A living lab is focused on organizational goals and provides a balance between social and economic benefits. Now, let's move on to the next part and discover what could be the mission, vision, values, and goals of your living lab and why it is important to think about it from the start. A key role of the Living Lab is to offer a moderated environment to define together a common vision and align the stakeholders. Let's start by defining the difference between the vision and the mission statements. The vision focuses on tomorrow and what the organization wants to become. The mission focuses on today and what the organization actually does. To be active in the long term, a living lab as an organization should have both a vision and a mission. One doesn't work without the other, because having a vision for the future is as important as understanding how to achieve it and what you need to do today. So the vision statement gives the direction. It is the future of your living lab. It is aspirational and it's about what you want to become. Here is an example of the vision statement of WinLab in the city of Winterthur, Switzerland. WinLab is a partner in the Sweet Lantern project. With WinLab, the city of Winterthur wants to position itself as a real-world living lab to test in systematic ways social and technological innovations, supporting the smart, sustainable city development, especially in the context of energy and climate concept, aiming at net zero by 2040. A mission statement answers the why question, clarifies what your living lab wants to achieve, who you want to support, and why you want to support them. It should be clear, precise, and open to everybody. To develop the mission statement, you could use the methodology known as the Golden Circle, a principle developed by Simon Sinek. Start with the why and consider the how and the what. Rethink what you have said by restarting with the who at the center of your mission. Expand the golden spiral into why, how, and what. This will help you to develop your mission and vision statement. The business sector has a key role in leading the transformations that the world needs. Inspiration examples can be found in the World Business Council for Sustainable Development program called Visions 2050. It can take a long time to align on a common vision among stakeholders. The vision may change over time and evolve as more partners engage with the Living Lab through different projects. It's important to have clear communication for onboarding of new stakeholders. It is the role of the Living Lab to orchestrate the ecosystem of actors, to understand their interests and influence, and to facilitate the exchanges towards a common vision. This can be done through workshops and participative events using a variety of methods and tools. Excellent communication and facilitation skills in the core Living Lab team are competencies required for success. After completing your vision and mission statement, you can also think about the values, goals, and resources required to develop your Living Lab. Let's discover together how to set up your Living Lab. So why set up a Living Lab? First, to have a structured organization where different stakeholders can join forces to innovate, co-create, and implement solutions. Then, to have a collaborative community environment for multiple activities engaging citizens, private and public sectors into the co-design process, as well as to have a methodological approach to work on the projects using a holistic approach. Let's quickly return to the definition of the Living Lab. A Living Lab is an innovation intermediary that orchestrates an ecosystem of actors in a specific region. Its objective is to co-design solutions in an iterative way in a public-private-people partnership and in a real-life environment. To achieve its objectives, the Living Lab mobilizes existing innovation tools or develops new ones. It should be mentioned that a Living Lab often starts with one single project and develops its activities across a portfolio of projects over time. However, remember that a project is not a Living Lab. The long-term viability of a Living Lab is supported through establishing a rich and diverse ecosystem of actors, a clear governance model and written agreements, and a business model delivering societal value. You'll find some important questions to ask yourself to support the successful setup of your Living Lab. What are your vision, mission, values, and goals? Who are your main stakeholders? Which wicked and complex problems are you trying to solve? Why do you need a Living Lab and not another type of intermediary? What activities will your Living Lab provide to whom? What financial, material, human resources do you need? Who will be your core team and what competencies will they have? What will be your participative governance model? What are the key aspects of your business model? How will you ensure viability of your Living Lab in the long term? So to launch and manage your Living Lab, you can refer to this step-by-step process involving scoping, planning, launching, monitoring, lessons learned, and the disseminating of solutions. So to launch and manage your Living Lab, you can refer to the step-by-step process involving scoping, planning, launching, monitoring, lessons learned, and the dissemination of solutions. When setting up a Living Lab, it's essential to think of the who, why, what, and how of your structure. We will explain this here in some more detail. Who consists of considering different roles within the Living Lab, taking into account that interdisciplinary collaboration is proven to foster innovations. The Living Lab team could include such roles as a Living Lab manager, project manager, pilot manager, panel manager, human interaction specialist. A communication manager is also a very important role. Why includes creating a common vision of your Living Lab, thinking about its values and goals. How covers rules, processes, methods, and tools used to develop solutions. Numerous tools have been developed to facilitate the co-creation process. many of which are listed in the next chapters. What aims to define different fields, projects, and activities of the Living Lab. For example, in the Lantern project, the fields are smart energy users, energy at work, mobility, energy communities and cooperatives, affordable and efficient housing, and sustainable recreation and tourism. For more information, check out the Reways Handbook developed through a European project. You'll find the link here in the notes. The Living Lab framework and methodology is derived from learnings of many EU projects and through the ENOL network. One of the key frameworks is the three-layer model of macro, meso, and micro, where the macro level is the stakeholder or landscape level, the meso level is the project or regime level, where innovations are developed using a design thinking process, for example, the Living Lab integrated process, and the micro level, where methods and tools are used at different stages of the innovation process. The methods and tools will differ depending on the requirements of the Living Labs and projects and their settings. For example, in the 2ICICAP project, this holistic approach is used to set up 6 Living Labs to co-design integrated energy and climate action plans. In the Lantern project, this approach is used to set up and develop 6 energy Living Labs in Switzerland to drive social innovation in several energy-related themes. For those Living Labs that have already been set up, let's discover together how to further develop a Living Lab. So, how do you keep your Living Lab alive? Through value creation. Find your unique value proposition. The time dimension is important. Think of the evolution of your Living Lab over time. Viability in the long term can be supported by developing a business model using, for example, the Liaison Business Model Canvas. Lessons learned enable you to rethink and adapt your strategy over time. Evaluating the impact and success of the Living Lab can be both qualitative and quantitative. A life cycle approach using long-term planning and the identification of risks can be helpful. A value chain analysis can be used to evaluate the Living Lab, especially for proof of integration of the Living Lab into innovation ecosystems. A SWOT analysis of a Living Lab can help to analyze and inform the evaluation. A roadmap for the future can be a useful tool to show the outcome of the evaluation. There are many approaches to measure the impact of Living Labs, both at the macro and meso levels. The theory of change is an important framework enabling the development of indicators and showing the impact of specific interventions at the project level. The Living Lab Triangle framework studies the interplay between the setup of the Living Lab environment, the macro level, and the impact of projects within the lab at the meso level. This model triangulates the characteristics of the Living Lab environment, the Living Lab approach, and the innovation outcome. The Living Lab environment shapes the projects undertaken and thus the innovation outcome. Capacity building opportunities are very important for the success of a Living Lab. A mix of learning material such as e-learning, presentations, and interactive workshops appeal to a diverse audience. Several capacity building options are currently available, such as the Virtual Learning Lab from ENOL, project-specific learning modules developed by HESSO, for example, for the 2ICICAP project, the Capacity Building Handbook developed for the Open Lab and Reways projects, and the Energy Living Lab Association, which focuses on dissemination of learnings. More research is needed on knowledge transfer to understand how people learn in Living Labs. Here you'll find some useful sources if you want to go deeper into the topics we have presented. Thanks for your attention. In the next module, we'll have a closer look at different roles within the Living Lab. Please do not hesitate to contact Joëlle Mastelique, Anastasia Ponomovera, or Fiona Zimmerman if you have any questions.